Have you ever woken up feeling like you are already behind? The alarm rings, and before your feet even touch the floor, you feel a heavy weight on your chest. Your mind is already racing. You think about the bills you cannot pay. You think about the job that drains your energy. You think about the mistakes of yesterday. It feels like you are running on a treadmill. You are running fast. You are sweating. You are working harder than anyone else. But when you look around, you realize you haven't moved forward at all. You are stuck in the exact same place as last year. If that sounds familiar, listen closely, because this story is for you. Tonight, I want to tell you about a man who broke that cycle. He didn't win the lottery. He didn't find a magic solution. He simply discovered that his destiny was hidden in the 1 hour he used to sleep through. In a crowded, gray city where the noise of traffic never stopped, there lived a man named Elias. Elias was 34 years old, and he was tired. Not just physically tired, he was tired in his soul. He worked as a delivery driver. Every day was a carbon copy of the day before. He woke up late, rushed out the door with a piece of dry toast, and spent 10 hours driving through gridlock traffic, carrying heavy boxes up endless flights of stairs. To the world, Elias was invisible. He was just the guy who brought the packages. He told himself that this was just temporary. He told himself that one day his luck would change. But on this particular rainy Tuesday in November, the air felt different. He woke up with a strange feeling in his stomach, a feeling that something in his life was about to break. He did not know it yet, but he was standing on the edge of a cliff. That Tuesday was not just any Tuesday. It was the 7th of November. It was his daughter Maya's 8th birthday. For months, Elias had made a promise. When you turn 8, he had told her, I will get you the pink bicycle with the white basket. He remembered the way her eyes lit up when he said it. That promise was a fuel that kept him going during his long, painful shifts. But life has a way of ruining plans. 2 weeks ago, his car broke down. Then, the electricity bill was double what he expected. Then, his landlord raised the rent. Elias checked his bank account on his phone while sitting in his delivery truck. The screen showed number $12. 50. He stared at the screen for a long time, hoping the number would change. It didn't. His shift that day was a nightmare. It was raining hard, the kind of cold rain that soaks through your clothes and chills your bones. At one apartment building, the elevator was broken. Elias had to carry 4 heavy boxes up 6 flights of stairs. When he finally reached the top, gasping for air, the customer didn't even say thank you. He just complained that the box was wet. Elias didn't argue. He never argued. He just swallowed his anger, walked back down the stairs, and got back into his truck. He realized then that he was living his entire life on defense. He was always reacting to problems, always dodging blows, always apologizing. He was never attacking. He was never in control. At 7 p.m., he finally clocked out. He drove to a cheap toy store, his hand shaking. He couldn't afford the bike. He couldn't even afford a helmet. He bought a small plastic doll that cost $10. It looked cheap. It looked like a consolation prize. When he got home, Maya was waiting by the door. She didn't say anything about the bike immediately, but Elias saw her eyes dart to his hands. She saw the small bag. She saw that there was no big box, no bicycle. Happy birthday, princess, Elias said, his voice cracking. He handed her the small plastic doll. Maya was a sweet girl. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She smiled a small, sad smile and hugged him. "Thank you, Daddy," she whispered. "It's okay. I know you work hard." That sentence broke him. Her forgiveness hurt more than her anger would have. He went into the bathroom, turned on the shower so no one could hear him, and pressed his forehead against the cold tiles. He felt a deep, burning shame in his chest. He was a grown man, working 60 hours a week, and he couldn't keep a simple promise to the person he loved most. He looked at his tired face in the mirror. He looked at the gray circles under his eyes. He realized that if he didn't change something, really change something, this would be his life forever. But he didn't know that the answer was waiting for him just a few hours away. In the dark, quiet morning, Elias could not sleep. The shame of the plastic doll sat in his stomach like a stone. At 4:45 a.m., he gave up. The apartment felt suffocating, filled with the silent evidence of his poverty. He put on his coat and walked out into the dark city. The streets were empty. The air was cool and misty. For the first time in years, Elias heard silence. He walked to the small park near his building. Usually, he only saw this park in the evening, when it was full of noise and trash. But at 5 a.m., it looked like a different world. It was peaceful. Then he saw him. Near the center of the park, an older man was moving in slow, deliberate circles. He looked to be about 60, dressed in a simple gray tracksuit. He was doing Tai Chi. His face was calm, completely at peace, as if he knew a secret that the rest of the struggling city did not. Elias watched him for 10 minutes, mesmerized. This man looked like he owned his time. Elias felt like a slave to his. When the man finished, he noticed Elias. He didn't look annoyed. He smiled warmly. "You are up early, young man," the stranger said. His voice was deep and steady. "I couldn't sleep," Elias admitted. He hesitated, then asked a question that was burning inside him. "You look happy. How? Do you know what kind of world we live in?" The man chuckled. "I am Arthur. And yes, I know the world is chaotic. That is exactly why I am here at 5 a.m. Arthur pointed up at the sky, where the faint lights of an airplane blinked. "Tell me," Arthur asked, "before a pilot takes off, What does he do? Elias frowned. He checks the plane? Exactly, Arthur said, his eyes sharp. He checks the fuel. He checks the weather. He maps his route. He spends an hour preparing on the ground so he doesn't crash in the air. Arthur stepped closer, his voice lowering. Most people, Elias, are like bad pilots. They wake up and immediately take off. They grab their phones. They rush to work. They react to traffic. They react to emails. They fly directly into the storm without a plan. And then they wonder why their plane is shaking, why they are scared, why they are crashing. The words hit Elias hard. That was exactly how he felt, like he was flying a broken plane through a storm, every single day. You are living a reactive life, Arthur continued. You are waking up on defense. But at 5 a.m., the world is still. No one needs you. No one is calling you. This is the only time you can sit in the cockpit and set your course. Elias looked down at his worn-out shoes. I'm just a delivery driver. I don't have a cockpit. I don't have a destination. That is why you are poor, Arthur said gently. Not because of your job, but because you have never defined where you want to go. Arthur pulled a small notebook from his pocket. I have a challenge for you. It is free, but it will cost you your comfort. Give me your mornings for 60 days. Wake up at 5 a.m. Spend the first hour not working, not scrolling, but building your flight plan. If you do this, I promise you, your destination will change. Elias looked at the old man. He looked back at his dark apartment building where his daughter was sleeping with a cheap plastic doll. He realized he had nothing left to lose. Okay, Elias whispered. Tell me what to do. But he did not know that the hardest part was not waking up. The hardest part was facing the silence of his own mind. Elias left the park feeling inspired. He felt like a new man. He thought, this will be easy. I just have to wake up. He was wrong. Inspiration is like steam. It rises hot and fast, but it evaporates the moment it touches the cold air of reality. The first morning, the alarm went off at 5 a.m. It sounded like a siren in a bomb shelter. Elias's body was heavy. His eyes felt like they were glued shut. Outside, it was pitch black. Inside, his bed was warm, soft, and safe. His brain, the same brain that wanted to change his life yesterday, immediately started to negotiate. Just 10 minutes. It whispered, you worked so hard yesterday. You need rest. You can start tomorrow. No one will know. It was a physical battle. Elias literally had to roll his body off the mattress and hit the floor. He stood up, shivering in the cold apartment. He went to the kitchen and made instant coffee. He sat at the small, wobbly table with a borrowed book about supply chain management, a subject he thought might help him at work. But he didn't read. He just stared at the page. The words blurred together. His head bobbed down. He fell asleep right there at the table, drooling on the book, until his wife, Elena, walked in at 6:30 a.m. "Elias?" she asked, looking confused. "Why are you sleeping in the kitchen?" He felt foolish. I was trying to study." Elena didn't laugh, but she looked worried. "Honey, you're exhausting yourself. Just sleep. You do enough." Her kindness was dangerous. It gave him permission to quit. Day 3 was worse. Day 4 was agony. By day 5, Elias was a zombie. He wasn't learning anything. He was just sitting in the dark, drinking bad coffee, and hating the world. The silence of the morning wasn't peaceful anymore. It was lonely. The inner voice became louder. "Who are you kidding?" It sneered. "You are a delivery driver with $12 in the bank. Reading a book won't change that. Go back to sleep. Accept your place." On the 7th morning, Elias turned off the alarm. He didn't stand up. He pulled the blanket up to his chin. He closed his eyes. The warmth was intoxicating. He was ready to quit. He was ready to accept that he was just a morning person in his dreams, but a tired failure in reality. But then, just as he was drifting back into the easy darkness, he remembered the look on his daughter's face when he handed her the cheap doll. He remembered the feeling of being a passenger in his own crashing plane. He kicked the blanket off. It was the hardest physical movement of his life. He stood up, breathless. "Not today," he hissed at the empty room. "I will not crash today." They say it takes 21 days to break a habit. For Elias, the first 20 days were a war. But on the morning of day 22, something strange happened. Elias opened his eyes. The room was pitch black. He turned his head to look at the alarm clock. It read 4:58 a.m. He had woken up 2 minutes before the alarm. There was no negotiation in his head today. No inner voice begging for sleep. His body simply knew what to do. He sat up, and for the first time, he didn't feel heavy. He felt light. He felt ready. He walked to the kitchen, made his coffee, and sat down with the book on supply chain management. 2 weeks ago, this book felt like reading a foreign language. But today, the fog in his brain was gone. The silence of the morning wasn't lonely anymore. It was like a magnifying glass. It helped him focus. As he read about warehouse efficiency and route optimization, he started to smile. He didn't just see words, he saw pictures. He saw the warehouse where he worked. He realized why the drivers were always late. He realized why packages got lost. "It's not bad luck," he whispered to himself. "It's a bad system." When he arrived at work that morning at 8 a.m., the warehouse was chaotic as always. Drivers were shouting. Boxes were falling. And the manager was screaming about a delay. In the past, this noise would have given Elias a headache. He would have kept his head down, loaded his truck, and tried to survive the day. But today, with the calmness of the 5 a.m. Hours still in his veins. He saw things differently. He wasn't just a tired worker trapped in the noise. He was the pilot observing the storm. He watched how the loading dock was organized. He noticed that the drivers were crossing paths, blocking each other. He took a small notebook from his pocket, the same one he used in the morning, and wrote down a simple idea. Zone A should load first, then Zone B. He didn't say anything yet. He just wrote it down. He wasn't just delivering packages anymore. He was analyzing the business. Elias didn't know it yet, but he was no longer a delivery driver. He was a manager in training. And his classroom was a quiet hour while the rest of the world slept. 1 month later, Elias did something that terrified him more than waking up early. He walked up to the glass office that overlooked the warehouse floor. Inside sat Mr. Henderson, the operations manager. Mr. Henderson was a man who rarely smiled. He was always stressed, always shouting into his phone, and he barely knew the names of his drivers. To him, Elias was just driver 42. Elias stood outside the door. His heart was pounding against his ribs. The old Elias, the one who lived on defense, would have walked away. The old Elias would have thought, "Who am I? I'm nobody. Keep your head down." But Elias remembered the feeling of 5 a.m. He remembered the quiet confidence of the pilot in the cockpit. He took a deep breath, knocked on the glass, and opened the door. "Mister." Henderson looked up, annoyed. "What is it? Is your truck broken?" "No, sir," Elias said. His voice shook slightly, but he didn't look down. He placed a single sheet of paper on the manager's messy desk. "I have a suggestion. For the loading zones." "Mister." Henderson laughed. A short, dry laugh. "You're a driver. Elias. Just drive." "Please, sir," Elias insisted gently. "I've been watching the morning shift. We lose 40 minutes every day because the trucks cross paths. If we switch Zone A and Zone B, we save time." I drew a diagram. "Mister." Henderson stopped. He looked at Elias, really looked at him, for the first time. He looked down at the paper. It wasn't a scribble. It was a clear, logical chart, drawn with the precision of someone who had studied the problem in silence. The room was quiet for a long time. The only sound was the humming of the air conditioner. Finally, "Mister." Henderson looked up. The annoyance was gone, replaced by confusion and curiosity. "Where did you learn to do this? You didn't go to business school." Elias smiled. It was the smile of a man who had a secret weapon. "No, sir, I didn't. But I study logistics every morning from 5 to 6 a.m. "Mister." Henderson leaned back in his chair. "We'll try it tomorrow," he said. "If it works, we need to talk about your future." Walking out of that office, Elias felt taller. He walked past the other drivers who were complaining about the heat and the traffic. He didn't join them. He realized he had left their world. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was building. 12 months passed. If you met Elias on the street today, you would not recognize him. He doesn't walk with his head down anymore. He walks with purpose. He is no longer driver 42. He is the warehouse operations manager. He wears a clean shirt, and his hands are no longer shaking from exhaustion. He didn't become a millionaire overnight. This isn't a fairy tale. But he did pay off his debts. He moved his family to a safer apartment. And last week, for Maya's 9th birthday, he walked into the store and bought the pink bicycle with the white basket. He paid in cash. Watching her ride it down the sidewalk was the best moment of his life. But the most important change wasn't the money. It was his mind. One crisp autumn morning, Elias returned to the park at 5:30 a.m. The city was still sleeping, covered in a soft mist. He found Arthur in the exact same spot, moving through his Tai Chi poses. Elias stood quietly until the old man finished. "Mister." "Arthur," Elias said softly. Arthur turned around. His eyes crinkled with a smile. "You look different, Elias. You look like a pilot who knows where he is going." "I am," Elias replied. "I came to say thank you. You saved my life." Arthur shook his head gently. "No, Elias. I didn't save you. The clock didn't save you. You saved you." Arthur pointed to the rising sun. People think destiny is a loud, exploding event. They think it happens on stage, or when you win the lottery. But they are wrong. He placed a hand on Elias's shoulder. Destiny is quiet. It is decided in the dark, when you are alone, while everyone else is dreaming. You chose to wake up. You chose to build. That is the only difference between the man you were and the man you are. Elias looked at the sunrise. He realized that the 5 a.m. hour was no longer a struggle. It was his sanctuary. It was the foundation of his house. So, Arthur asked, "What is next?" Elias smiled. "Tomorrow morning at 5 a.m., I have a new flight plan. Let's look at Elias's journey one more time. But this time, let's look at the simple steps he took to change his life. In the beginning, Elias was stuck. He was a delivery driver who worked hard but never moved forward. He felt like he was running on a treadmill. He lived his life on defense, always reacting to problems, always tired, and always broke. Then came the breaking point. On his daughter's birthday, he realized he had no money for her gift. He felt deep shame. He realized that if he did not change, his future would look exactly like his past. Elias went to the park and met a guide named Arthur. Arthur taught him a powerful lesson. You cannot fly a plane without a flight plan. He told Elias that the hour between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. was the only time to build a new destiny. Elias accepted the challenge. The first week was a struggle. His body fought him. His mind made excuses. He wanted to quit. But he remembered his daughter, and he forced himself to wake up. Slowly, the struggle became a habit. Elias used his morning hour to study and learn about his job. He stopped being just a driver and started thinking like a manager. Finally, he took a risk. He shared his ideas with his boss. Because he had prepared in the dark, he was ready to shine in the light. He got promoted, paid his debts, and bought the bicycle. Elias learned that destiny is not luck. Destiny is simply what you do when the rest of the world is sleeping. Now, I want you to imagine that you are Elias. I want you to speak his truth. Listen to these sentences, and then repeat them out loud. Feel the emotion in the words. I used to hate the morning because it reminded me of my failures. I felt like a passenger in my own life, always waiting for someone else to save me. But then I realized that no one was coming to rescue me. I decided to stop sleeping through my potential. The first week was painful, and every part of me wanted to quit. But I learned that the pain of discipline is better than the pain of regret. Now, I don't just wake up, I rise with a purpose. I am the pilot of my own life. My friend, Elias's story is not just a story. It is a mirror. Right now, you have a choice. You could be like the old Elias. You can wake up tomorrow late, tired, and rushed. You can let the world dictate your mood. You can stay safe in your warm bed, dreaming about a better life, while sleeping through the only time you have to build it. Or you could decide to stop living on defense. Here's the truth. The most dangerous place in the world is not a war zone. It is your comfort zone. Your bed is comfortable, but nothing grows there. So, I have a challenge for you. The same challenge Arthur gave to Elias. Step 1. Tonight, set your alarm for 5 a.m. Exactly. Put your phone across the room, so you must stand up to turn it off. Do not negotiate with yourself. Step 2. When you wake up, do not check social media. Do not check the news. Give that first hour to your future self. Read a book, exercise, or learn a new skill. Build your own flight plan. Step 3. Do this for just 7 days. It will be hard. You will be tired. But remember, a tired body is better than a tired soul. If you are ready to accept this challenge, I want you to leave a comment below. Write, I am the pilot. Let this comment be your first act of commitment. If this story inspired you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I share stories like this every week to help you improve your English and your life. Stop waiting for luck. Stop waiting for permission. The morning is waiting for you. Wake up, rise up, and fly.